So yeah, hello everyone, hope you're doing well, hope you're looking after yourselves. Welcome to another episode of the Hustle Chronicles. I guess we should technically call it Hustle Chronicles Rewatch, because we're bringing on our favourite people from our first couple of episodes. And we're learning about how the last 12 months have been. You know? Has it been fruitful? Has it been tough? Have you put your invoices, sent your invoices and received POs on time? How is it managing a team? All of those fun questions we will get to in just a bit. But as you guys know, I don't like doing introductions. I also don't like doing reintroductions. So instead, I'm going to hand over to the amazing Leila, who's on the podcast today. Leila, it's great to have you back again. For anyone who didn't watch the first episode, which we will include somewhere, I'm just pointing because I don't remember which corner of YouTube it is. But for anyone who didn't watch the episode, could we know a bit more about you and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Leila, also known as Cutie Whippingham, that's my stage name. And I am a pole performer, and also I run a company that's also a community called BlackStage's Pole, where we create performance opportunities for pole dancers of colour, learning opportunities for pole dancers of colour, and also collaborate with other artists to make pole as beautiful as possible.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, we're going to dive straight in with the first question. And this is all around the theme of growth and evolution. And also, I should say as well, in typical Hustle Chronicles fashion, you are also welcome to ask me any questions or flip the questions onto me as well. But yeah, let's look back, because I believe your episode came out either in January or December. So January 2024 or December 2023. One of the two.
I remember it was cold.
It was cold. But yeah, so let's go back. Let's go back a bit. Episode's out. Since your last time on the podcast, how has BlackStage evolved? That's the first part. Second part is, what key milestones or breakthroughs have you experienced in the past year?
Okay, I'm definitely going to need you to repeat that after I answer the first one. So how has BlackStage evolved? Was that part one? Okay. So I guess at this point last year, or at the podcast recording last year before last, we hadn't done our show Community, and I do feel like Community was like a huge breakthrough for us because it was really focused on like how we can basically nourish the community and connect the community through what we were doing. So we created more opportunities for like just socializing. Like we created more kind of like virtual meetups before the show, and we also created like a pole jam and then just made things a bit more intimate on the day. So that then became kind of factored more into the way we run things. And with each show, we'd learn new things. So there's just like hundreds of things I think I learned from, I guess, December to January 2023/24 to now. I guess this point last year we weren't running our international pole vacation. So that's one way we've evolved. We're doing like our first international event. It's the first time doing a major event that isn't the show as well. And we also do more workshops now. And I'd say overall, there's a lot more global reach for like what we do. We've interacted with a lot more performers. There's a lot more people interested in us. A lot more people engage in us. We had a lot of amazing press. So met some fantastic people in other industries. Yes. Yeah. So how has it evolved? It's evolved in many, many ways. The list is long. I could go on forever, but I'm not going to. What was the second part of your question?
Second part was, what key milestones or breakthroughs have you experienced over the past year?
Key milestones. I think like there was a point where I was like trying to crack the code on how to like make this work financially. And I had a really big breakthrough last year, which is preparing us for what we're doing going forwards. And also I thought like, how can we like do more than just this show? The show is so much work. It takes me like all year. What is it that we could also do? And I feel like the pole vacation was a huge breakthrough because it's like I learned how to run a different type of event for the first time in years, and how to like basically involve pole dancers internationally in that, and just kind of like create a community on different soil, and also at the same time kind of connect with the history of where we're going. We're going to Barbados, so connect with the history of Barbados and just like doing a lot of research around it, connecting with a lot of people that live there. It's a big evolution, that one. I guess that was a key milestone for us for sure. And also working with the camera equipment and film crew that we do now. Last show was the first time we ever did that. We had such a big camera crew and we're using like proper like professional cinema cameras, which is not really done in Pole. I don't know if it's ever been done, not in a Pole show to my knowledge anyway. So it's like very, very new territory, very like big milestone for us. And it means the way that it's enjoyed outside of the actual live show is like a cinematic experience.
Yeah, thank you. I think to comment on a few things you said, I think first off, like you said, it is always hard to figure out that financial, like crack the code on the finances, because you might think, oh, similar to like equating it to myself, like pick up a mic is something that we've also had to been thinking about, because I think sometimes you'll be like, I've got this really cool idea, or like you start doing it and then you'll be like, cool, I'm getting some traction, but then you'll be like, this is good, but it's not bringing in the financial revenue that you want. And I think one big advice from someone we both know, Akil, like he was talking about stuff and he was saying that businesses should never be, or like a few people have said it, businesses should never be so dependent on funding, because it's almost like, yes, you could like win Arts Council funding or like go to a pitch event, win loads of money. Then it's almost like, how are you going to ensure that that money stays? Because whether it's like 50,000 you win, 30,000, like with the Arts Council, you can go up to like 100 plus. But it's very much aware of just like 100 plus is a lot, but depending on what you want to do, that can go very quickly. So it's almost like you said, like figuring out like what's that sustainable model. And I think, people mentioned it, Akil mentioned it, like cracking the code on your like sales pitch. So you know what you do, you know why people are interested, and I think like one thing that a lot of organizations now that have like done, and I'm sure this is something you've done or you're going to do, is always like the impact report. So like, it's like, what are you doing? And then what's the impact that you're having? Because you might say, like, even for example, great to pick up the mic, I might say, we help students and young people with their personal professional development. But then the biggest thing people might say is like, well, what's the evidence of that? Is it through, the amount of people that listen or subscribe to our platform? Is it through attendees? Do I have any testimonials of people who said, I didn't know about this resource, but through listening to your content, I do. So I think it's really nice to hear that you found that, because I think that it's something that the earlier that you find it for your own business, that like as soon as you've got it, it's just like, cool, I can just like sell it to whoever and everyone. So I definitely agree with that. I think the second thing that I really like is testing to like going into new waters. So like you said, you'd never done the vacations before, and I think that a lot of people sometimes and again, like when I say a lot of people, I'm including myself in this, that like when you start doing stuff with your business, or even if you're a freelancer, you stick to one area of like work, you then sort of almost trap yourself to it, because you're like, oh, I can't try something new, or if I do, that might mean that like my current audience, I lose people, because they'll be like, oh my gosh, what are these guys doing? They're like shifting away from what I wanted to. And that's not to say as a consumer that like sometimes I might think like that. Or even arguably like, I always shout out this book. I do have it in my bag, but for the interest of time, I won't bring it out. But it's a book by Rick Rubin called The Creative Act: A Way of Being. And it's all about how like the creative process, how everyone's a creative just through basically existing, because we all have a vision of something and we might bring it to life. And now that might be like a musician making music tracks. It might be similar to what you're doing with BlackStage, creating inclusive environments and seeing that from like thought to actually reality. But he was mentioning in the book that sometimes like with musicians, they'll keep themselves to like a particular genre or style of like music or writing, because it's almost like testing new waters can mean that you're putting yourself in a space where you're sort of almost like, even if you've got like 20,000 followers on Spotify, or like you've only got 20, you're putting yourself in a space where like you're almost back to that vulnerability of like when you just started, because you're then like, oh, well, are people going to like this? Are people going to be interested? Are people going to, compare me to someone else and say I'm not as good as them? And I think the biggest thing that I've seen and also from what you shared, was like, you never know the impact of that. So, you tested only water, you saw people are interested, it's now become fruitful.
Yeah.
But that's also to say that sometimes it's not, and like, that's not a bad thing. There's a lesson to be learned from things not going the way that you want them to. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to go on to the next question, which is a tough one, because it's all about challenges and lessons, which sort of links to what we were talking about before. So, I'd like to know what has been, and this is again a two-parter, so I'll ask the first, to be honest, they're kind of linked, but it's what has been the biggest challenges you've faced of 2024? Actually, to be honest, I think the episode did come out in 2024, so that works. What has been the biggest challenges you faced in growing BlackStage and your career in 2024, and how did you navigate them?
Ooh, biggest challenge of growing BlackStage in 2024. You know what? I think 2024 was the first year, it was our second year in the Clapham Grand, but our first year selling out the show. And I had been really worried because obviously we had Arts Council funding, but like they only fund you so much. You don't ask for, and I don't anyway, ask for all of the money to run the show. So there's a certain amount that you have to make up. So I was like, I have to kind of like sell out, or it would be amazing to sell out. And that way less of it's funded by Arts Council. So basically what I did was, I factored into the project grant that like we needed like some marketing and PR. And they have a section for that, like how you're going to like, I think it's just called like marketing and developing your audience or something like that. But this time I filled it out. I was like, okay, I'm going to put something into this because this will probably help us sell out. And it really did. I invested actually money into a publicist. So like I factored into the project grant money for a publicist to help promote the show. And she got like a lot of like good reach, a lot of good engagement from a lot of different people. And I do feel like that made a lot of difference. So for me, I feel like that was what was the question?
No, it was navigate. What were the challenges?
Yes.
And how did you navigate
that? So one of the challenges is, even if it's not a financial one, it's just the fact that I wanted more bums and seats, wanted more people to be there, wanted more people to enjoy it, wanted more people to know about us and hear about us. I felt like our reach at that point wasn't as far as it should have been for a show of that quality. So, the publicist, the PR, the publicist was really helpful. Sorry, I don't know what to interrupt, but is this okay?
I was going to say, if
because basically it needs to clip, and so I'm like paranoid.
No,
because basically, is it going to be muffled? I'm worried. Can you hear it?
I can see this. It's picking up sound. Wait, if you speak.
Hello.
Yes, it's picking up sound the way it was.
I need it to like be the other way up so I can clip it underneath, but the clip is the wrong way. I think it should
be fine. Like if you do it upside down, I think it should be fine because it was picking up noise when you were talking.
Okay, maybe I should do it. Is that too close though? It's here.
That's fine.
That's so weird though. Is it bad for continuity?
No.
Okay, sorry. Can you ask me that question again? Because I feel like that whole time I was just thinking about my mic. Because I started filling it before you started talking and asking the question, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty better. Move it to the side a little bit. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, could you ask me that question again, please?
Okay.
Sorry, I just had a moment with the mic.
So this next question is all about challenges and lessons, which links to what we were talking about before. Also, I'm going to redo that because I also didn't say that I'm going to cut this. So this is Jeffrey's reminder that he's going to cut out the previous section. So we're going on to the next question, all about lessons and challenges. And I think one key thing that if anyone's been listening to this podcast or any of our other ones, or if they're a business owner or freelancer themselves, they know challenges always come. And I think it's really important to see, not only talk about the growth and evolution that you've had over the last 12 months, but also to look at how you've faced challenges and how you've learned from them. So this question is, what has been the biggest challenges you faced in growing BlackStage? But I think also an important part of that is also how your career has grown in the last 12 months and the challenges that you may have faced with that and growing your career. But also, how have you navigated through those challenges?
Okay, so the first part was like, what have been the biggest challenges and then how have you overcome them? Okay, so one of the biggest challenges was, this was our, so 2024, the 2024 show was our second show in this bigger venue, and it was our first time selling out. So the first time we did the show, we did not sell all of the tickets. We didn't get to open up the second tier of the venue. And I really wanted to sell out. I felt like the show didn't have as much reach as it should have had for a show of that quality. And I wanted more people to be there, to engage, to see it in real life, to really absorb the message, to really like be exposed to these artists. And it was really important to me to be able to sell out that venue. I always had that as a vision. And, you know, there's so many benefits of that. So this time round, I factored in marketing, like a publicist, to actually help push the show to different places. So we had a lot of press coverage, and I do feel like that is one of like the biggest contributing factors to selling out the show, just that little bit more. I mean, we did grow naturally, as you know, you do over time after the first show, but I do feel like there's a certain level of reach that we gained through having a publicist. And yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges definitely overcome, because I was quite sad the first time, not entirely sad and think the show was a failure or anything. I thought it was amazing, but I was a little bit sad to not have sold out the whole venue. So for me, it was like a challenge I wanted to overcome. I wanted to be able to fill up that whole venue for this time round, and we did. And then, so yeah, that was 2024. We did the show that's just gone last April. And then your second part of the question was about how my career had grown. And
so the challenges you faced with your career, but also career. How did you navigate through them?
Oh, okay. So I faced a lot of challenges through within my own career, within BlackStage and also externally to it. So capacity was a huge challenge. Like the last year and the year, to be honest, every year I have a lot on my plate, because when I first started doing this show, the first 2 years I did it entirely on my own. I didn't have a team. It was just me behind the scenes. I produced the whole thing, 2 shows. For the third show, I was like, okay, I want to have more help because it's growing. It's getting a bit bigger than my 2 hands can manage. And also I want to just have a life and like some more free time. So that was a big challenge for me, relinquishing control, but also learning how to delegate, because I've never been able to really do that. Like, I think it's something to do with like growing up in like a single parent household. My mum did every single thing. Like, I never saw her need anyone else. So naturally I learned that like we can do everything and like we have everything we need. So that's how I worked and lived life. And that's how I kind of like, not how I intended to run my business, but that's how I was just doing it. But then it got bigger and I was like, okay, it's sensible now to hand things over to other people. And that was a challenge for me to overcome, because it was like, I would have had a struggle with capacity, and it was challenging for me to learn how to delegate, because it's not something I knew how to do. But I did. I overcame it I had actually one of the performers from the first year reach out and ask if she could help out, which was really sweet. And I was like, yeah, sure. So her and then another performer from the first year helped out on 2 different things. And then I kind of brought them into being part of like the core team. So people that like work all year round on the show and on BlackStage. And that was like, that really, I think, helped us grow so much, because there was so much more that we were able to do, because there were 3 of us instead of just 1. And they all have like different areas that they cover. So yeah. Yeah,
that's really incredible. I think, just to comment on a few things again, I think like you said, from a business aspect, I think it's really great to see you push yourself to go further than you did with your previous show. And obviously you've got, and we'll talk about it in just a bit, that you've got another show coming up in a couple of months. So it's really great to see that you didn't sort of like, because I think, again, there is that, not theory, but there is that sort of like understanding that you might just like settle into like a comfortable routine, because you might be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, like you said, like you might some people might be like, oh, people came and that's it. That's the most important thing. I don't necessarily need to focus on like reaching a new area. I just need to ensure that the same number of people come and, you know, we do the same thing and that's fine. But I think it's really nice to see that you're just like, no, next event, we're gonna push harder, we're gonna try something new. And I think as well, like you said, like sometimes there is an understanding that like, and it links to my second point about like delegation, is you don't have like, one, not everyone's got the skills and knowledge to do everything for their business. And two, you don't have to. Because I think that, like you said, like that's one thing that like, especially if you are a business owner and you've got a team of people around you that can support you, it is very hard to be like, lead on this because I don't want, like, not necessarily you don't want to do it. You might just be like, I want to not oversee it as much. Because like you said, like, you might be like, I want a personal life. I want to have time outside of work. So I think it's really important that you mentioned there that like delegation is something that it can be hard to do, but it's so beneficial for you because you also realize that like people themselves also won't be able to grow. So like you might be like, oh, as a business founder, I want to delegate someone to lead on this project. And you'll be like, I don't know if they'll do a good job. I don't know if they're going to be great. But you'll never know, and they'll never have that opportunity to show you or even to grow in that role if you don't give them that stuff. And I think that's been something that like, especially this year, well, this year as if we're not only a month in, but like towards the end of last year and this year, I've also realized that as well, is that like, got people that support what I do. They're also happy to like help out with things. So in my head, I'm very much just like, I don't have to be at everything or like do every event or like shoot content everywhere. Or even if I'm at the same event, like I don't have to micromanage the team. I can just go and be like, cool, as long as you guys know what you're doing, have a great time. I'm just going to like attend as an attendee, and if you need a hand, let me know, but you guys are leading on this. And I think it's really key that you mentioned that because I feel like it's not easy. It's definitely not something that I would say like, even myself, I'm like at a stage where it's perfected and I could do without like stress. But yeah, I think it's something that's definitely like something businesses, like as a business owner, you have to just do because if you don't, then you're just like you said, like you're working late, you're stressing, you're like pulling your hair out because something hasn't worked out and you're just like, oh my gosh. And then everyone else around you can see it and they're just like, you need to chill. So
yeah, it's definitely really important. And you mentioned that it's good that I like, you know, went on to do something else and I didn't just stay doing one thing. But it's a big part of it is also to do with the fact that we do feedback forms for the end of the show. So the audience, so we have feedback forms for our team, for the performers, and for the audience. So we reviewed 3 different like kind of like sets of like data on what people enjoyed, what they didn't enjoy, what they would like to see. And a very, very popular one was like, we want to see a pole vacation. You guys should do one. We'd love it. And so it was, I saw it as a common theme every year. Like from the first one, I was like, okay, this is a very common theme. People aren't going to let it go, okay? And I would also love to do that. It sounds very fun. And what's nice for me as well is like I'm teaching on the Barbados one as well. Yes. And that's not something I really do within BlackStage. I don't really like, teach myself, as in like I run the workshops in terms of like I host them so that other people can teach, but I never personally teach. So this is going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. But yeah, I think that I have the audience a lot to thank for that because they told me what they need and I actually like listened. I knew it from the off that I wanted to do that, but I was just like, I have no idea how. My friend Rachel, who was also a performer in the 2023 show, she ran her own pole vacation and it was like so successful, like best reviews out of any pole vacation I've ever heard, and like everyone was like loved it, amazing, and I was watching it in real time because I was watching everyone's stories everyone who I followed stories there but also hers, and I was like, she's like got a gift for this. So I did say like, hey, do you want to like come on board and like do this? So I set up like the foundation of it, but then I was like, would you like to take over and be like quite like heavily involved in this? And she was like, yeah, I'd love to. So now I have someone that's really, really good at this thing that I've never done, but she's done it so well. So it gives me more confidence because I'm like, I only want the best of the best for my attendees for this thing. So I'm glad I have someone that I believe is the best of the best to be on this project with me. But yeah, I went off on a little tangent, but it's relevant, Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and that's again me delegating because I would pre-2024 me would have been like, okay, I'm gonna do the show, I'm gonna do this as well, I'm gonna do it, and I would have been like this, like two minds trying to like blast 100% into the, and it would just have been impossible. So Yes, I'm glad that I have the skill of delegation now. That's what I've come into 2024/end of 2023 with. And it's here with me now and helps me out.
That's really incredible. And I think one final thing before we go into the next question is literally like we said there, like you are receptive to your audience.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it can be, again, like sometimes as a business owner, you might get into that trap of like, it's like, yes, you're like, your audience just attends and that's it. Like you said, you might not collect feedback. You might not even, and I think sometimes people like overthink what feedback has to be. Feedback can be like forms. It can be literally just like rating something out of 5. It can be like emojis that you send and just say like, click an emoji.
Yeah.
But feedback can also just be like someone on the day just turning up to you and saying, look, I just want you to know I had a great time, met loads of cool people, and I network. Feedback can also be an email someone sends you afterwards to say, look, this was one of the best things that have ever happened. Because I feel like people sometimes feel like, I think it's like 2 things. It's like, one, people are just like the effort that sometimes you might put into getting feedback, you don't always like see that fruition. So you might have like, I don't know, event, 50 people come, send out a feedback form or like a short thing for people to comment on, and then you might see only like 5 of those people do it. But then also, I think sometimes people are afraid because they're just like, oh, well, if anyone's got negative feedback, then that's going to like either reflect on me as a business owner, as an event manager, like I've done a bad job, or it's going to reflect on, like you said, like if you're delegating to someone or the team, they might feel like,
negative feedback's the best feedback.
It is.
I know that sounds great. I don't want anyone to go and like leave me horrible like things, but like it's good to know what people didn't enjoy because like, yes, I love that people enjoy the things that they enjoy, but I can't see everything. So when there's things I've not even considered and people tell me that was an issue, that's really helpful to me because I'm like, oh, I didn't even consider that. I'm so glad I now know because I can fix this issue. And it's like, whether it's an easy fix or a hard fix, at least it's on my radar and I know that like it's something I'm going to work on. So I would advise people not to be scared of the negative feedback because it's actually really helpful. Like I'm trying to think of a piece of feedback that we received that I've changed. There's so much, honestly. I think some people mentioned something being wrong with their tickets last year. They were unable to get into like the stalls and circle, and they ended up being in the upper circle. And they were like, oh yeah, I had a great time at the show, but like we ended up in the upper circle and we were meant to be in the stalls. And I was like, oh, that's terrible. So I flagged it so that I could reach out to them before we put tickets on sale to let them know that they could have complimentary tickets for the stalls and circle this year because I was sad to see that they weren't in the right seats last year. So that's like so helpful. Like if they'd never told me that because they were like, oh, we had a great time, we don't want to bother her or make her feel bad, then I would never have known that they had that experience and I could make that experience better. So that for me is helpful. There's those kind of like helpful critiques. If it's like, you're ugly, then it's like, wow, that's not something that's like, helpful. Not that anyone's saying anything like that, but just like, don't say things like that. It's touch wood we don't receive that kind of abuse.
Well, we're going to go on to the next question, which, funnily enough, you've kind of already answered, but I think the second part of this question we haven't. So the question was all on creative and business expansion. So it was about, has your creative approach to performances or event organization changed since your last show? Now, I know you mentioned it has, but I think the second part, the reason why I say it's interesting is because I think sometimes, as sort of we alluded with in the previous 2 questions, is it's about balancing the art and the business. And when those 2 things are in sync as a founder, but also as like people in your team, people who watch your events, they can see that like passion in what you deliver and the work that you do. So I guess now that we know that there have been changes to the way that you've organized events, you've delegated, you're expanding into new fields with your business, which is amazing. How do you balance the artistry with business growth?
How do I balance the artistry of pole with it growing? This is an interesting question. Could you like elaborate a bit more? Sorry, I know you just went. You did just explain, but now like the end has like thrown me a little bit.
So I'd say like, for example, so like, I guess we pick up the mic. We might be like, our art is podcast creation, and it's like through this interview style or Q&A style or topic theme discussions. We are exploring, like we're learning more about our guests, but we're also like sharing advice and knowledge with our attendees. So there's that art of like creating a podcast, making people feel comfortable, safe, making them feel like they can share like personal details about what's going on, especially like, and I tell people like with something like this where, you know, it's great that everyone who's been on the podcast turning around and saying like, well, we've had two of many, say like your second guest, who's come back and it's been like a great year. And I've been like, this is great to hear. But I know like for some people that might not be the case. It might be like, oh yeah, I've actually had to like shut my business, pivot into like a completely different area because, you know, like that business wasn't working. So I know that there's that art of like ensuring that people do feel like if they do want to say, actually, you know, my business had to shut unfortunately, and now I'm like figuring out my next steps. It's not like, well, why are you here? This is for like only the businesses that are growing and super successful. But then all the podcast stuff we do, which is great, isn't essentially helping, well, it does help Pick Up Might grow, but we've also expanded into other areas that maybe support us in a more financial basis. So that might be like delivering workshops, sharing our knowledge, being a public speaker, stuff like that. So it's almost like, how do you balance the two? Because you don't want it to be that you lose the, I guess like we're talking about, you don't want to lose the art, but you also want to ensure that you are financially stable.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So how do you balance those two?
Oh, interesting. I guess there's a lot of things that we've had to change since starting. Because when I started, I was like, oh, I want to put on a show. I didn't know anything about business and have a degree. Didn't know, like, anything about business, really. I never took it as, you know how you can take business studies and like, school.
Yeah.
Like, I never did that. I was not studying those kind of things. So I literally had no idea. I was like, I want to put a show, it's going to be really cute and fun. And it was from my knowledge as a performer. So I was a performer going into creating a show, putting all the things that performers need into the show and not really knowing much about what the business needs because I didn't think that I'd become a business. I was like, well, I had to become a business to actually apply for the funding. But I didn't really. So it was a business before I ran the show. But I didn't know how to be a business and how to like sustain the work and sustain like paying people and things. So I had to like learn, and there were like many ways that I learned. And what's interesting is that like my wife's friend actually reached out to me. She worked at Somerset House. She was like, you should apply for Black Business Residency. And she's the reason I actually applied. So it's actually funny, like I wasn't looking to find out more on how to become more business literate. It kind of found me in the end. It was like, it chose me. It was like, you are gonna need this right now. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll apply. Like, and I put my heart and soul into the application because it was asking me a lot of personal questions about like what I wanted to do with BlackStage, and I cared so much. So that's what I put into that. And so it was through like Black Business Residency that I learned a lot more about how to like sustain a business and things like that. I was like, oh, amazing. Like I learned so much. So now I have to like do things alongside just running the community. Like we run a lot of like workshops and things. We basically, the money we make from like the workshops and things goes into like covering performer travel at the show, paying the team, paying for the venue hire, like all of these kind of things. So we do more things like that. And then I started running my masterclasses. So at first I was like running them like just like kind of informally, and then I was like, okay, no, I'm going to make this a thing. The masterclasses became a little bit more expensive. Well, actually, no, I think they started in 2020, so they're significantly more expensive now, but not too expensive, like £30 now. But yeah, then more people would attend. I'd learn more, and therefore I had more to give to these masterclasses, and therefore it was worth more as well. So then I was charging more for my masterclasses, but then I also made them downloadable, so you could purchase and download them. So then that's making a passive income from the masterclasses, and then created like resources that you can also purchase. So it's becoming like not just about the show and like performing, but also like how can I monetize all of the other things that I do, put them into BlackStage so that BlackStage earns money from these things and then can use that money to fund the show, because the show is the most expensive thing that we do, and that's like where all the money goes. So yeah, it was just kind of like learning other ways to generate an income for BlackStage, which involved me working a lot more and then like doing a lot more collaboration as well. So that's how I kind of balanced the two. So I guess like I had to do more of this like earning money stuff for BlackStage, in order to fund the show. But then also like the artistry is like learning more. So through the collaboration, so we have like a cinematographer, and she's taught me so much stuff that I'm like, it's actually crazy that this stuff even exists, and like people just think like, oh, you're recording something. They don't realize like how much goes into it. And like Tracy, our cinematographer, is always teaching me things that blow my mind. And so I'm learning about the art of cinematography and like the importance of color grading and like sound and like all of these things that I didn't even know existed before. And looking at pole through a different lens, literally and figuratively as well. But like literally looking at it like, wow, if we change the color on this, and like really working with like lighting and like, you know, like the haze and like the sound and like really boosting the production and putting more into the art that is a different like genre of art to my own. Like I do pole, I'm not like a lighting designer or a cinematographer, but now I know way more than I did before about lighting and cinematography, so I know that we can make pole as an art look better when it collaborates with the art of film. So that is really interesting. And whew, yeah, I guess that's how I balance the two. Learning and also like monetizing other things through BlackStage so that we can afford to run the shows. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of like cogs turning in the brain.
Yeah, no, that's really incredible. But I think it's like what you said, like it's through those like both streams. So yes, you're bringing in revenue through, like you said, like passive income through the works that you were doing, like the masterclasses. And I do think generally that's a great idea, not just like for making money, but also it's making it like more accessible, because obviously like everyone's life is basically busy at this point. So it's almost like, you know, it's not making it inaccessible that if you don't attend the masterclasses, like, sorry, gonna have to come to the next one. It's like, oh no, like, oh, if you didn't come, like, oh, there's this online resource, you can purchase them there, which to me has been like, is always like nice to have, because like I said, like sometimes stuff comes up, people's lives are moving sometimes at like a million miles per hour. So it almost feels like, as a customer, when businesses do that, I'm always just like, oh, okay, you're very like, you're accepting that like, my life like doesn't revolve only around like whether it's being a part of your program or you know only like sometimes attending your stuff. Like you're just like, no, I'm gonna make it like super accessible and I'm gonna work with you through this. So yeah, I do want to say like that as a preference is like incredible. But I think it's like we said as well, like people, and you know, I always say as well that like collaborations are super key, because like you said, and linking I guess back to earlier points, that you don't know everything, but there are people, and I think sometimes people feel like if you don't know something, the only way that you can know it is through like, you have to basically pay for that advice. That's not me saying that like, never pay for someone's advice. Like, that's just me saying that sometimes you don't know who may know what you're looking for. Whether you use like platforms like LinkedIn or Instagram, or even if it's just like
LinkedIn again. We talked about this last time. I'm on LinkedIn now. I'm thinking of maybe hiring someone to make mine. Okay. Because I've got one, but I don't understand it. I see you doing really well on there, like all the posts and things. I'm like, Jeffrey's LinkedIn looks like so good. I'm really like inspired.
But it literally, like you said, like it took learning. It took doing LinkedIn. So LinkedIn have LinkedIn Learning, which funnily enough is like masterclasses on like, yeah, it's all on like business stuff. It's also about like software, podcasting, personal skills. But they do have one on like your LinkedIn profile. So it's like, what can you do to like upgrade your profile with that? And also, I will say, it was nice. A lot of that stuff wasn't only if you have the premium version of LinkedIn. So it was very much accessible. It was just like, if you have the free plan, like this is what you can do and this is what you should be highlighting. And it was like, if you've got the paid plan, like, do this. Like, you get more, yes, but it's also being aware that like LinkedIn's not cheap, especially if you pay for, well, if you get it for free, it's fine. But
how much are they when you pay for them?
It depends on what you go for. So they've got like different streams. So like one is more a recruiter stream. One is if your focus is on sales. One is if you're focused on, what is it? It's like a business growth one. And then there's another one, but there's like 4 streams. So like, I think the Sales Navigator is like per month, maybe like, one of them is like around £40 a month. But I think that the typical, like, you subscribe for a year, it's cheaper. One of them, I think the sales one is maybe like 60 something pounds a month. Again, for a year, that's a lot of money. But yeah, it's one of those things where like, I tell people like, just think about like how you, you don't have to like pay to like get business.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like one day, if I ever have time, probably not. That's something I'd like look into just because it looks nice. Yeah, it looks fun. And I got some really good headshots. So.
Nice. I do say that like people do underestimate how the power of a good headshot.
I got amazing headshots, like literally like, wow, it's phenomenal, stunning. So it's through Foundervine actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking about Foundervine, I know we have our list of questions, but obviously you're featured in their book.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Those are the headshots.
Tell us about that. How did that happen? Because obviously, whenever the episode was recorded, that was not in the I don't know if that was in the works. If that was super unexpected. Tell us about it.
Oh no. They put out that they were doing the first edition of the Ray Forward Ray and Nephew Power Book, spotlighting 25 exceptional Black entrepreneurs who are excelling in their fields. And I was like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. I would love to be part of that. And then I think there's a submission process. You essentially not pitch your business, but you fill out what you do, why your business is important, why you think you should be included, what your achievements are, things like that. And they kind of review and assess whether you're as impressive enough to be in the Power Book.
Okay.
And then I think there was another one after that, another step. It was a little while ago, so I'm trying to remember exactly, but there was another step after that, and I was like, okay, I'm getting closer. And then I did the other one, and then they were like, yeah, we'd love to feature you. Are you available on this day for a shoot? And they got this really amazing photographer called Ron. I want to say it's Timihin or Timihin. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Okay. Great surname. And yeah, I was actually busy the day that they said it, but I was like, okay, no, I have to be there. So I made sure that I got an early slot so I could do everything I needed to do in that day. But yeah, that's how it worked out. And I had just bought a suit, funnily enough, for my birthday. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna wear my suit. It looks so good. Yeah, it was great. The pictures were stunning. So they're everywhere. I put them everywhere I can.
Nice.
So yeah, that's how that went, and I'm really honoured to be part of it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's an incredible achievement.
Oh yeah, because I just feel what I do isn't really one of those things that's spotlighted often, and what I do is so rare anyway. It's very, very niche. I don't know anyone else that does what I do. If there's anyone else that does what I do, please holler, because it'd be nice to meet more people. But yeah, so it was just nice to not only see myself, but to see my entire industry represented, when I know how erased we are within the arts and within business, and when it comes to being awarded for things, we rarely are across other industries. We have to award ourselves within our own industry. No one's really recognizing us like that. So it was really amazing to see Pole there, not just see me there, but see Pole there. It is what I love so much, and I know so many people that love it too. So it was just nice for the industry and for the community to be represented in that way. Yeah. Yeah,
that's really incredible.
That's yeah.
And I think it's really I think one final thing to highlight about that is the unexpectedness of it, because like you said, you didn't when we recorded that last year. Obviously, you weren't expecting that, but.
And we were talking about awards last year. I was oh, there's awards? And I actually won an award last year as well.
That's incredible. Okay, let's talk about this as well.
Yeah, I won the Sexual Freedom Awards. I won Activist of the Year 2024, which was amazing. And I won it on the actual birthday of BlackStage. On the very day, yeah. I was like, I don't know if I could buy tickets to go, because it's BlackStage's birthday, and I feel I should be doing something really, really special and BlackStage focused that day. I should take the time for BlackStage. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm so like, do I go? Do I not go? Do I not go? Because they reached out and they're like, you are nominated for Activist of the Year, and I was like, okay. So yeah, I was like, do I go? Do I not go? Because they said you could also attend virtually or watch it afterwards. I was like, oh, okay. And I think it's because I didn't expect to win. I was like, oh, it would be nice to go and see who wins the categories and stuff. Not thinking I'm going to be called up onto the stage. That was mad. Yeah, I was so honoured to win. Wow, to just be honoured as Activist of the Year. There were so many amazing people in my category that did such impressive work as well. And to know that people recognise what I do as making an impact. Yeah, it's very special.
That's really emotional.
It's emotional times.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And yeah, congratulations again.
Thank you.
We're going to go on to the next question. This one, though, I will put a pretext, because we did answer this in the previous episode. So this one has actually is a sort of like, I guess, a part 2.
Yeah.
So the question I asked you the last time was all around like the influence that BlackStage has had on the pole industry and representation for dancers of colour.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to ask you, let's say over the last 12 months, have you seen, you mentioned in the previous episode that you had seen like, that you've seen the impact, you've seen that there were changes, there were things that were being influenced. Have you seen any more, whether it's in shifts in industry recognition, industry like processes, procedures, or have you seen that through the work that you're doing and the support that you're essentially giving other pole dancers, have you seen that it's sort of like created a shift that other businesses, not necessarily in the same exact industry, but other businesses are sort of like taking on and making sure they do?
Absolutely. Things like the things that we put into our policies. So we've got like a whole like policy on like how to behave. And I see like a lot of other pole businesses doing like a similar thing, especially the one as it pertains to like not using music by abusers. Like that's being like adopted by a lot more pole organizations now. People are actually taking it really seriously, like not wanting to like actually play music by people who have caused harm. So that is, or cause like that much harm to like marginalized groups. So that is amazing because that's what we need. And also things like low income like measures to like support like lower income people, and yeah, just like honestly so many things, so many protective things that we put into BlackStage. I've noticed a lot of other organizations trying to put those things in as well, and also successfully putting those things in as well. I'm trying to think of more examples. Just like health and safety protocols as well that we have. People reach out and say, yeah, like thanks to BlackStage, I wanted to start my own thing, like for this like specific marginalized group, and like we're gonna do something similar to what you guys did, or we'd like to, or could we have some advice on how like you went about doing X, Y, and Z, because we'd like to make this thing more inclusive. A lot of people do reach out and they're like, oh, I would love for mentorship because I'd like to do something similar. Like that's how I know that it's having an impact, because people want to start their own things as well, which is really important. I've seen so many things begin in the last 12 months that have like adopted kind of like similar protective measures to BlackStage. And I can't say that's like entirely because they've seen BlackStage, because there's also other influences out there. But yeah, I see a lot of things that are similar, and like because I have such a large amount of people reach out about the things that we've done and wanting to start their own things, I can't help but strongly believe that, yeah, we have, in the past 12 months, had like a huge impact on the way that the pole industry navigates creating events and creating events in a way that is more inclusive, more equitable, and just like protecting marginalized groups more.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what's really incredible from what you've been saying is so not only have you been like creating a change in your industry, but also you've not like, when people have reached out and said, oh, like, we love what you do, or like, I saw you did this, like, can I get advice or mentorship? You've never been like a gatekeeper, because I feel like, especially when people see, like, sometimes people feel like, oh, like, no, I can't, like, if someone else reaches out, maybe they're like, I'm really interested in like what you do, I want to do something similar, or like, oh, I want to like maybe start my own thing in that same industry. They're like, oh no, like I'm not going to help you, you're my competitor, like absolutely not, go away. But it's very much like, no, like, and you know, it's literally from what you said, it's about like well, I wouldn't say like in reality, in an ideal world, it should be that like every business is out there to solve a problem or to provide a solution, or both. And essentially it should be that like there is no competition, because it's almost like everyone wants to solve this thing. And whether I'm the one that directly does it, whether it's, you know, the business next to me that does something similar, like as long as we're all working to solve this, that should be the main focus. And I think like a really key example of this, or like one that always sticks to mind is, so I don't actually remember when it was created, but so when seatbelts were designed, seatbelts, the person who designed the seatbelt basically didn't put a like patent on it, with the idea that like he was I don't remember the guy's name, but they were saying that basically he wanted to make it that like any car company should use it. It's like, this is a safety measure. It shouldn't be like, I earn money, or like the company earns money from like, basically like people having to pay it. Because he said ultimately people will be like, I don't feel like we need seatbelts. Like seatbelts do improve safety, but like we're trying to save money on this car. So he didn't include like so he didn't basically put a patent on it in this idea that like anyone should be able to use it. Anyone should be able to have seatbelts in their car. And obviously like now, if your car doesn't have a seatbelt, that's like a major concern. But it's just that, and it's just like, you know, he saw that there was an issue, he created a solution, and he didn't want to, he put like changing an industry more, like that was more important to him than profit to self or like profit to his company. Because I don't think also he was the founder of his, I don't remember if he created it for a car company or if he created it separately, but like even if he created it within a car company, he wasn't like, oh, like our company should be the best, we are the ones that, you know, deserve all the money, the profit, all of this. He was like, no, like everyone deserves to drive safely, like let's just create an inclusive space. So yeah, I think that's really something I want to highlight with what you said, is that you weren't, with people reaching out to you, weren't just like, yeah, thanks, or like, and like, I could spend a whole hour talking about this. I also like that you actually replied, because my biggest pet peeve.
Oh my gosh, it's so rude when people don't reply.
You message people.
It's actually so rude.
Yeah, it's, to me, it's don't reply, or like I've had it, so like, I won't name names because I'm not here to like shame people, but I've had it where don't reply. I've had it that don't reply, we meet at an event, then they're like, oh, hey, like, you know, I know we were supposed to get in touch, like, you know, reach out to me, So I'm like, cool, like, let's do it, don't reply again. I've had it that, like, I've met the person at the event, I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk, and then maybe that wasn't their intention, but it came very much across, like, I don't know, like, we're not at the same level, so it's almost like, oh, like me reaching out to them or like speaking about them or asking them, like talking to them at this event was almost like, they're like, you know, like, I don't want to say charity, but almost like, oh, like, you know, like, I just put it as like an ego thing. Like people very much just like, oh, like I'm bringing in X amount, I'm like at this upgraded level, and it's like, you guys are like at the beginning. And I think that's what I've always told people. I will say, like, when it comes to pick up my emails, I'm not the best at replying. I do sometimes forget. But for the most part, if you've got my phone number or you've got my Instagram, you know I reply. But I've always said that, like, my biggest thing is, as a business owner, even like when it comes to the events that I like put on, I've always said I want people to like feel that they can come and talk to me.
Yeah, you want to be approachable.
Yeah, and I always tell people like I know that people say this about me, and I've always said like, the reason why I do it is because I like it, but like I like connecting people. So if someone tells me, hey look, like I am looking for a videographer, I'm like, cool, I actually know someone who does videography, and you know, he like ideally he'd like to get paid, but he's also like looking to expand his portfolio. So like if you let him know, like if I put you guys in touch, you can work together. You know, the biggest example I talk about this, and the reason why I love it is, like someone was a panelist for my event. We did an International Women's Day event next year. We're doing one this year. Please do not ask me in the comments when it's happening. I am yet to confirm the date, but I have a venue. So hopefully actually that's a lie, because the next episode I'm recording is tomorrow. But soon you'll hear more information. But the person that I brought on for that, like they spoke on the panel, really great, did a great time. Then they were networking with people afterwards. And then it was like months afterwards. So that happened in March. In June 2024, they get back, like we meet after that long time, and they're just like, oh, hey, how are you? I'm like, good, all this stuff. And they was like, oh, I just wanted to let you know, like, I don't know if I told you, but one of the attendees at your event, this person, they actually are now working for my company. I was like, really? She was like, yeah. Like we, you know, we really had a good time. And then when this position came up that we got funding for, you know, we were just like, oh, you know, we told them about it. They applied. They did really well in the interview, all of this. And I was like, wow. So through that person, just like both of them, panelists agreeing to be on the panel, attendee agreeing to come, like that change happened. So to me, it's always that. It's like always being humble and like never, like always making the time for people and never making it seem like, oh, you conversing with me or you talking to me or you even like sending me an email being like, oh, hey, I'm looking for this experience. Can you facilitate it? Like, I will reply. If your email, I will say the only time I don't reply is if your email looks kind of dodgy. Because in all fairness, sometimes I do get requests of people want to be on the podcast, and I won't lie, sometimes I can't tell if you're spam or not. That's the only reason why I don't reply. But outside of that, usually I do reply, because I'm like, if you want to be on, like, I'm always happy to have people on. I've had people on that I have no, like, I don't know them from work, from school, from uni, from anywhere. They've literally just like sent me a DM, been on the podcast, and like a friendship or like even like a work relationship has formed out of that. So it's always like that. I feel like it's just remembering that, like, I don't know, you never know who you're talking to.
Yeah, I think that's so important in life. Like, I remember like my older sibling used to like, was like the co-founder of this like quite like well-known like queer collective in London and stuff. And like we used to like, I'd meet people that like knew them or knew of them or had been to their events, but then sometimes they didn't know that like who my older sibling was, and then they'd act really like really rude. Like they'd meet me and be like just a bit like bad vibes, and then they'd realize who I was related to, and then suddenly they want to be really nice, and it's like no, just keep being bad vibes, because like that's obviously like that's how you interact with people. Don't start being nice on my behalf because I'm related to someone that you actually like think is cool. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I always like, I'm interested in the way people treat people when they don't know anything about them. It's like so interesting to me. And it happens to me as well in the pole industry. Like I meet certain people who have heard of BlackStage, but then don't necessarily know who I am. And then they act one way, and then they realize that I like BlackStage is my baby. And then they're like, oh my God, suddenly it's different vibes. But it's like, no. Like they need to like switch it up. Like it's fine. I know who you are now kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like to come back to what you were saying about like not gatekeeping and stuff, it's like, so I have a lot of people reach out to me, but then like I think I made a story about this recently, about how I need to like develop something so I can mentor people in some way, because people are always reaching out for mentorship. And my answer is often like, I direct them to certain things, but then I'm also like, oh, my capacity is like really bad right now. And then I put out in my stories kind of a few months ago that like, I haven't forgotten about all those people that have messages, because in case you guys see this, I haven't forgotten about all the people that DM'd me and like sent emails about mentorship. I just feel like right now I don't have the like all the resources I need to be able to provide like the best mentorship. And I feel like when I have the capacity and when I have like everything I need, I want to develop something that's like really like good. I don't want to do anything half-assed, basically. So if I want to mentor people, I want to take a bunch of people and I want to make sure all the stuff I have I'm really proud of before I like share anything, because I want to make sure that it's like really good. And that's also something that Black Business Residency taught me as well, because it's like you get mentorship and you get all of this information and stuff, and it's like so inspiring, and I'm like, if it's anything short of that, then I don't want it, you know what I mean? I don't want to provide anything that's like not as good as that for people, like any resources not as good as that. So yeah, I need to get my things together, you know? But I will. I have that in my, it's on my board, my mood board, my aspirational mood board. But yeah, I forgot what we were saying. We're talking about just like meeting people, weren't we? But yeah, it's very that. So yeah. Just like the vibe is just to like just be nice to everyone, really. Like it's nice when like people you meet. So you meet people on the one hand that can be like really bad vibes, and then they find out what you do, and then they're suddenly good vibes. But then you also meet people that are like really good vibes, and they find out what you do, and they're even better vibes, or like same vibe, consistent. I like that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like a lot of people are like that though.
100%. And I feel like it's really interesting, like on a bigger scale. Like I feel like mentioning, like linking to what you said, I think it's really nice when you see like celebrities who, like people say are down to earth, and then you like I wouldn't say I personally interacted with someone like that, but like you see them, like you see people then talk about them and be like, oh yeah, I literally had this long conversation with so-and-so, didn't realize that like they were this big celebrity, and then afterwards you're just like, oh no, this person really did meet like so-and-so.
Yeah, I have a really good story about that actually.
Yeah.
Basically, I used to be part of this talent agency, and I got like drafted to be like an extra in this music video, and it was underground, it was really, really hot. Mary J. Blige. She was so nice.
Wow.
She was such a babe. Like it was underground, really, really hot. Everyone's sweating, and she's like, and all the team are like putting fans on her, like Mary, and she's like, no, don't put the fans on me, put it on them. These guys are working so hard, and she had them like all fanning us and like looking after us. She's like, don't worry about me. And then she like came and she like hugged us, kissed us on the cheek. She's like holding our hand, like very like auntie energy. Like these are my babies, like I want to look after them vibes. And it was just like so fantastic. So I've been listening to her music my whole life, and I love her music. So just to know that she's auntie energy, like or has been like in her interaction with me, I was like, Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's
Yeah.
just better than it ever could have been.
Yeah. And I think, like we said, it's always about being that, like, authentic and humble self, because everyone feels like, and we will talk about it we've got a name for it before the very end of this, I'm coming up with a name, but to celebrate, because I feel like even though this is called the Hustle Chronicles, like, I also have mentioned that, like, I disagree with the idea of what people make hustle culture about, and it's like, you're working 24/7, you got a burnout, if you're not working on your business, like, every day, then you're sort of, like, setting yourself up for failure. And it's like, no, like, you are allowed to take a break, you are allowed to do that. But I think it's like we said as well, it's like, also sometimes people make it seem like, oh, as a business founder, you have to be like an animal, you gotta be, like, aggressive, and you can't take, like, you've gotta be, like, almost this, like, dominating force in the room, and you've got to, like, walk in and, like, almost you shouldn't. And I'm not saying that, like, and I will preference this with saying, like, I don't think you should also sell yourself short. So I don't think, like, if you do, so, like, that's, like, with all those interactions that I shared, my biggest thing has just been, like, I know what I do, I know people like what I do, and I'm just focused on, like, being where, like, another great advice I was given was, go where you're celebrated. So it's about, like, focusing on, if you know a certain group of people or a certain organization loves the work that you do, they're always shouting you out, they're celebrating you, even if it's not necessarily, like, financial, if they're just like, you know, we love what you do, if you ever need to, like a space, maybe they might give you free space, or they might be like, oh, you know, we really love the engagement from you, whatever, like, always go where you're celebrated, because that's where you'll see that, like, that community. And I found that when you step out of that and you're, like, trying to, I'm not saying it's easy, because obviously everyone wants to make money with their business, everyone wants it to grow, but then when you're starting to, like, see people treat you not the way that you should be treated, that's where I'm just like, yeah, you've got to go where people actually want you to be and where they celebrate you, because if you don't, that's where you end up in, like, situations of seeing your business as, like, less than it is, and you know, you never should be in that. But yeah, we've come to the final question. Now, this is all about the future, because as people following you may know, as people following BlackStage may know, you have a big event in April. Yay. A very big event. So with this in mind, what's next? So not only thinking about the event, but let's say, like, for the whole of 2025, because I guess we also are opening it, you can come, like, in a year's time again. So for the whole of 2025, what's next for both you, but also for BlackStage? And if you can share it, are there any new collaborations, long-term plans that I know you shared some of them, but if there's any others you want to share, this is your opportunity to share it.
Yay! It's funny that you asked, because today I did actually post the grid, like, upcoming events for 2025.
Okay.
So I can just, like, let me get that up.
Yeah, of course. Because, yeah, I think a lot of people do sometimes feel that they can't, like, I don't know, I can't share that. But I think it's really great to see that also you've, like, planned out your year, because also that's something I'm trying to slap myself on the wrist on. Yeah, it's about, like, I've got a plan. It's more about, like, putting pen to paper. But yes, let us know. What's 2025, what's happening?
So we've got a lot more workshops this year, because, again, on the feedback from last show is like, we'd love workshops with the performers around the show. So you know what? We've got workshops with the performers around the show. And that's some performers from the previous years and some performers from this year. So we have, like, the 29th and 30th of March. We've got numerous workshops over the 2 days with performers from previous years and performers from this year. And then our show is on the 5th of April. And we also have workshops that day as well, which is fun. So yeah, around the show, on the day of the show, yes, in the afternoon. So we've got workshops on the day of the show, the big show, which is on the 5th of April, and that's followed by our after party, DJ'd by Pussy Palace. Again, a collaboration with our community, who we love. And then more workshops in April on the 12th. And then we have our 5th birthday party, pole jam. So I've never really, another thing from the feedback as well is that people wanted more pole jams, so more community events, more retreats, more workshops around the show, more pole jams. So doing that all. We have a birthday pole jam actually for our birthday this year, which is on the 3rd of May. And yeah, it's a pole jam. People are going to come in, pole, jam, you know. does what it says on the tin. I'm really excited about it actually because it's our first open one. So we do ones for BlackStage alum and like we all kind of get together and we jam. So those do happen, but this is like an open one that anyone can book onto, and so can our alum as well. So that's really cute. And then we've got another one in June and another one in July. But we also are doing another collaboration, another event, Mighty Hoopla in June, 1st of June. Okay. Which is so fun. So we'll be like taking over the stage, one of the stages at Mighty Hoopla, and BlackStage will be putting on a little show, mini show with some performers and our DJ friends from Gal Pals. And then we have the 21st of June pole jam, 12th of July pole jam, and then our vacation in Barbados is the 27th of July to the 2nd of August. And then we have a mystery event on the 23rd of August that will be announced.
Okay.
Yes. I'm waiting for a certain date before I can say anything else.
That's all right.
But, yeah, super fun. Barbados as well. So, yeah, that's like the things I have down until August. Then we usually begin the planning of the show from October, so it gives me a little time off. That's like 10 events, so but you know, delegation, so I won't have to be at all of them. So it's fab. I've got like workshop supervisors that are going to be at those, so
nice. That's
I'm
incredible.
not going to be at all of them.
Thank you very much. We will also say how people can find out, and if you want to see a comprehensive list of this, we will say how to find that in just a moment. But I have come up with a name with it. So this new segment for returning guests as yourself is called The Level Up. And the reason why I call it The Level Up is it's supposed to, it's essentially, I don't have it here. It will be in the next episode, but that's to say both Leila and our previous guest on who's returned, Drew, they will receive this. But yeah, the plan is we're going to give you a mini trophy. And the reason why we're giving you a mini trophy is as a business owner and as someone who supports businesses, I understand how tough running a business is. I also understand how a year, regardless of what happens on a like political, a world level, even on a personal level, can impact like your business, your mindset, your values, yourself. All of this can change in 12 months. So we call this a level up because essentially we want to say this is like a celebration of like literally everything you've just said. And like how you've achieved so much as a business owner and as a founder and arguably as a person, you've grown over the last 12 months. So yeah, this is essentially us giving you your flowers.
I've got another award?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
But this is us saying like, you know, you've done incredible work. You should be so proud of what you have done over the last 12 months. I look forward to, I know I also keep saying like 6 months to a year, but a year seems to just work perfectly. That's not to say you couldn't come back earlier, but whenever you do come back onto the podcast, you know, this is essentially to just say like, I look forward to where you level up next time because I know it's only going to get bigger and better. So
thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, just be proud of yourself, be proud of your team, and be proud of, all the things that you have completed in 2024. And I look forward to all the things you complete in 2025.
Oh, thank you, Jeffrey.
You're very welcome. But yeah, we're now come to the very end of the episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching. As I always say, this is, you've sort of like already plugged all the stuff that's happening, but how can people connect with you? How can they find out more about the events taking place? Any last things you want to share with the audience? This is your time to do so.
Of course. So, in case anyone didn't know what the show was, we have a pole dance show that centres pole dancers of colour, and it's like produced exceptionally. Amazing lighting, sound, staging, and you know, we had you might not. We had 234 applications this year, and a lot of those were from just many countries around the world. We had like Argentina, like New Zealand, Nigeria, like Tanzania. Like we had so many different places all around the world that people came to apply from. So we have like actually an international lineup at this show, and it's stunning and it's really, really something to see. Like if you don't like know anything about pole, definitely come and watch because you'll really see some real like beauty, some real artistry, like some real like excellence on the stage. And the conditions we create are like, we aim for them to be perfect or as close to perfect as possible for like performers to express themselves on. So yeah, definitely please come and watch it. If you are a pole lover anyway, you should definitely come and watch it. It is so fun and just so beautiful and so moving. Yeah, and it's my life's work. You can find us on Instagram at BlackStage, but it's spelled BLXCKSTAGE. You can also find me on Instagram at Cutie Whippingham, so that's CUTIE, like cutie, and then Whippingham, WHIPPINGHAM. And that's M for mother, by the way. And I'm thinking of anything else. We have a website, blackstagepole.com, and that's just spelled BlackStage and then pole.com. And there's some fun things there. But yeah, definitely check out our show on the 5th of April. I'm trying to think if there's any sites. We have a YouTube where you can watch a few videos for some inspiration. And that's BlackStage Pole on YouTube as well. I think that's it though. I can't really recommend a LinkedIn until mine's looking as good as Jeffrey's. So yeah, still a work in progress. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I look forward. Maybe next time you're on, the LinkedIn page is going to be looking good. It's looking good. But thank you to our wonderful audience for coming again. If you'd like to see more episodes, or if you like this episode, let's start there. Like, comment, subscribe, always appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss other episodes of the Hustle Chronicles or any of the other content on the Pick Up the Mic YouTube channel, make sure you click the notification bell at the bottom of the video. If you would like to support our efforts and our work, as we sort of discussed today, we couldn't do it without you guys, then please do consider becoming a patron or a YouTube channel member. Both of those links will be down below. I will say, as I mentioned in the previous episode, we are planning to do more events. As I mentioned, we do have our regular Women's History Month and Black History Month panel discussions, but we will also be doing more regular events, and I will say there won't be traditional or just traditional networking events. There will also be some game nights for our gamers, and I'll talk about the gaming stuff in just a bit. We will also have some offline arts clubs, possibly some sip and paints, but as Leila was talking about today, we are also doing a lot of collaboration. So you may have seen we've worked with a few people. We've got to shout out our friends at System, our friends at the Quarter Life Hub, but we're going to be working with more people, including also, I forgot to shout them out, Anime District 2. So yeah, keep an eye on the space. We've got a lot of stuff coming. So yeah, just keep an eye on the space. Second to last thing is make sure if you do want to see our other content, so our gaming, sci-fi, and fantasy, or anime content, that you check our For You page. If you head to the main YouTube page, Pick Up the Mic, it's got all 3 channels there. You can subscribe. Again, if you click the notification bell, you won't miss an episode of those, because we're going to be pushing out more content on those channels as well. And then finally, I'm saying it now so people can have it in their heads. Before you ask me, I do not have a date, but this year is a special year because it's not the big 5 yet, but we're getting there next year, and there will be a big thing for that. We're coming to the big 4 of Pick Up the Mic, 4 years Pick Up the Mic running. So there will be an official announcement about posts, what's going to be. Last year we had a panel discussion with me, learning about Pick Up the Mic. I will promise for anyone who is tired, because I'm sure you have heard my voice a lot if you have watched every episode since we started this, you may be tired of hearing my voice, so this is me to say that I will not be the main focus. There will be a twist. We are changing things up. So I will let you all know the details close to the time, but it's going to be community-based. It's going to be celebrating everyone who supported us over the last 4 years. So yeah, keep an eye out. It will probably not happen in the month of, I'll say the month of our birth, but the month of March, which is when our 4th year anniversary is, but mainly because we've got the International Women's Day panel to think about. But April, we will keep you updated. So April is where it's looking like. But yeah, make sure you come along. It will probably be free, but there will be a bar, will be food, but the most important thing we're doing is celebrating not only 4 years to Pick Up the Mic, but the amazing community, which includes you guys who support us. So yeah, keep an eye out on the space. But I've been rambling. We're gonna wrap up the Hustle Chronicles here. We'll see you next time with either a returning guest or with a new guest and a new business. So yeah, thank you very much. Have a nice day, and we will see you all soon.